Cameras on.
Okay, it's 11 o'clock. We'll call the special joint council and infrastructure committee meeting to order, and we'll start with Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council roll call, please.
Councilmember Brunner?
Here.
Councilmember Jarrett?
Here.
Councilmember Vogel?
Here.
Councilmember Barnett? Here. Councilmember Stanko?
Here.
Councilmember Reeser?
Here.
And Council President Jenks.
Here. And can we do infrastructure roll call?
Steve Brunner?
Here.
Keith Jarrett?
Here.
Jen Reimer? Here. Fred Vogel?
Here.
And Dave Reeser?
Here.
Thank you. Are there any public comments
Yes. Do we do public comments for this council or for infrastructure?
for the items on the agenda?
It's a joint meeting, it's, whatever's on the agenda.
Okay. It's on the agenda, then it's fine. I'll reserve it at the end, right? Thank you.
Okay.
Hearing none, this time I'll turn the meeting over to infrastructure and Mr. Turner.
Okay. Welcome all. Sadly, a lot more people here. It'll be what it'll be. Let's just jump right into the zoning codes report.
So the report is pretty self-explanatory unless I think Joe wants to give an update on one or two things. And I will reserve the cat conversation until we're done going through the report.
Okay. So if we don't do it, then we'll do it as old business, but that's fine.
Really, I don't have much of an update other than what's in here. There are a couple items that are missing an update for the month. One of them being Mr. Jadix. I don't have an update on your backyard area as
Yes.
far as receiving the drawing.
I'm working on that.
Okay.
It's I told Michelle I had
Okay, so other than that, unless someone has any specific question.
I have a question.
Sure.
Would you please inform us to this, where Mr. Jake's property stands at this point? I'm getting phone calls again.
So, the issue now is that Mr. Jadick has submitted a driveway permit
Again.
application, which was the initial request. So he is following through on that, and I am in the process of processing that right now. It will be issued as a regular zoning permit, valid for 6 months, with the ability to be extended another 6 months.
Is that under state law?
It's under our zoning ordinance. That language is in
I
our
think
zoning.
Mr. Jake's had enough extensions, 10 years worth.
So, it will be, it states it on the permit that it's valid for 6 months.
Very good. Okay, thank you. Mr. Jake, I suggest you take this very seriously and get the job done. Enough is enough.
And I,
No, you may not.
well, I don't think that is.
You're out of order, sir.
Yeah, well.
You're out of order.
Mr. Jennings, I'll give you a chance.
I don't appreciate it.
Not now, but that's probably not.
Okay.
All right. Anything else on the zoning codes report?
Do you want to talk about cats?
Yeah, but we might as well talk about cats.
So I received body cam footage from Sergeant Hayden, Sergeant Carroll, who is one of the enforcement control officers for the ARL. That was passed over to Kraft's office. They issued multiple violation notices to the owner of 1413 Dolphin, including number of animals that she was keeping and some exterior property maintenance issues. She has until next Friday, September 1st, to get in contact with Kraft in some way, shape, or form to prove to them that she is not keeping more than 4 cats. To date, she has made no contact with anybody at the ARL or at Kraft to indicate she is keeping less than 4 cats. So I strongly suspect next Friday I will be filing a citation with the District Justice's office for her keeping more than 4 cats. In addition to that, The two women that came to the July infrastructure meeting have stayed in contact with me. They are frustrated that the ARL is suspending temporarily their TNR program because of respiratory infection that is going through the ARL. I shared with Steve a copy of our contract. I did not share that with those two women, but I did let them know there's nothing in our contract that provides for that TNR service or requires the ARL to provide it. Their contract with us is strictly for animal control and animal investigations regarding cruelty and other things like that. So I do understand their concerns that the ARL is temporarily suspending that program because of the ARL's own restrictions and what they can or can't do with the virus. But at the same time, you know, that was never something the ARL promised to provide to us for the fee that we paid them. Those two women, and it sounds like the rest of that block, are asking if the borough would consider looking at alternatives. I don't know of alternative programs in close proximity to Berks County. One of the suggestions that they gave was partnering with local vets. I assume there would be an expense for that. Chris, I don't know if you've dealt with this in other municipalities that haven't used the ARL, if you're aware of other
Well,
options.
there are some organizations around that provide new release services, but, you know, we would have to find a contact and to see what terms they were willing to work with us on. I mean, it could be voluntary, it could be paid for service, but, in any event, you know, this borough has relied upon, ARL, and we need to see if there are other options out there if council or committee wants to move beyond the ARL in terms of developing options.
I might know of a place called, Catworks,
They don't do TNR that I'm aware of, they're strictly foster and
but
adopt.
they may know somebody who does.
So there,
I'll work on getting a contact for you.
there are, Leslie shared with me, there's two other organizations, one's in Allentown, one's in Berks County that do TNR, but they're so swamped, they're not taking on anything additional. And her other point was, it's enough of a burden on them now just to go to the ARL, much less to drive cats to Allentown. That's above and beyond.
Sure. I mean, all I can tell you in this is, a day or two after our last meeting, I walked up there with the dog, and, there's things that I noticed that have nothing to do with cats that concern me, that I brought to your attention. I saw that 12 have been captured, did I see that right?
Yes, and then a mother gave birth to 6 kittens last week.
So we're a net down 6 at this point.
Are they being cited?
We can't cite them until next week, and it would be for the number of cats that they're keeping.
What about the last month and a half period? Were they cited anytime during that period?
We can't just cite them, we have to give them an enforcement notice with a compliance timeframe and spell out to them what they need to do to comply. That was done, they have until August 31st, which is next week.
Right, so August 31st they be cited. And how often can they be cited thereafter? So it's cumulative.
Okay,
We can do that repeatedly, I mean,
I mean, if you do it repeatedly, it's gonna get to a pretty big number. So while we're doing our thing, I can figure out how to pay the bill.
I don't know, I suspect this is not a financial issue. I mean, I don't know that the fines are going to achieve the desired result. Time will tell.
So
Is it a per day fine?
It can be enforced on a daily basis.
How
It's just one part of what we can do. If you do nothing, you're not gonna be fined.
I think we are on the process of doing something.
No, I know.
We gotta follow.
I mean, if
Letter
we
of the
cite
law.
them while we're doing everything else, it's fine.
We couldn't cite them until we had proof of the numbers.
which
That
we
was
needed the body camera footage
That's-
for.
No, I agree. So at the end of August, we should be able to cite them.
Assuming she does not allow entry into the home to prove that she is keeping 4 cats or less, yes.
Right, so at some point, you should be able to cite them. And how often thereafter, can you continue citing them while you're trying to find.
We give them time to comply with the MEP.
We sing on the other side of that once we say for the first time.
Right?
So Fred, to get to your question, in cases where you could file daily to not upset the judge and his office with additional paperwork, I typically file every 2 weeks for every day within that 2-week time period, or once a month for every day within that time period. So the understanding is there, the violation and the citation covers all of those days, but it's one or all, so they're not stuck with the burden of dealing with all that.
Did I read the report that there may be other issues other than the cats?
So
Like the
there's
body cam?
fence, there's some sanitation issues, there's piles of wood, so to speak, grass and weeds.
That's terrible.
So are we taking
Yeah,
action against
enfor-
them? as well?
enforcement notices were issued for all of those things.
So what's that time frame to?
Usually anywhere from 5 to 30 days. They were issued individually. So grass and weeds is one, fence is one, and I believe the wood as another. And I'm sorry, I don't have the time frames in
So
front
are
of
we
me.
on another 30-day week before you can actually cite them in some way?
No, probably another week or so max.
So we're taking multiple actions against
Yes.
the individual?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I just real quick ask, what are the chances that she can just let some of those cats outside
That's,
while we're there?
She has a window open. She's always
Yeah,
outside.
the cats are always in and out, so she lets these cats outside because she knows we're coming. You see 2 cats inside, but there's,
So
so we have like,
she's not gonna let us in.
Okay.
She let the ARL officer in for maybe 5 minutes, and then as a kitten tumbled down the stairs and he saw it and started questioning her, she was, I'm not comfortable with this anymore, you need to leave my house, and then she would talk to them on the porch, so I have no expectation she's gonna allow anyone in the house.
so if that happens, then at some point,
Well, then it's a citation, because she hasn't proven anything.
We can get an administrative search warrant, based on the probable cause that we have that there is a violation occurring. So there are steps we can take to develop more evidence.
obviously it's frustrating because we have to follow the guidelines of the law, but, you know, once we get this wheels in motion, I think we have to keep the pressure on her to be able to.
On multiple
On all fronts, exactly. On all fronts, because when I did that visit, I was expecting to see cats running all over the place, and quite frankly, I saw one maybe. But
That was
I
our issue.
I was horrified by the condition of the property itself. I don't know, is it a violation to put a fence across your driveway? An unopenable fence? Well, it's open now, it's laying on the ground, but,
No, because it's your driveway, I mean,
so
maybe,
you can put that, okay, that's fine, just curious.
Was it permitted
I
down
mean,
there?
we gotta keep, we have, the neighbors are, that's terrible, and we gotta keep the foot on the gas, so, I'm not into picking on any citizens or residents out there in the borough of Wyomissing, but at this is one case where we really gotta.
well, it's also repeat, this is the
Right.
4th time
Understood.
in 20 years.
Understood. Okay, any other questions about the cats? All right, moving on, Western Berks Water Authority.
Recently had an EPA, inspection, awaiting that report. I think everything worked out well, but as soon as I get the results, I will let you know. The algae doesn't appear to be a problem yet. We test that all the time. And testing, I think we're gonna be doing the borough testing. That's been all worked out, so we'll be doing the borough testing for you. Other than that, I have nothing else to report.
When does the authority start doing the budgeting process for next year?
We'll start that September.
Okay. So obviously keep us in the loop, I'm sure you will.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as you know
But,
something,
yeah,
as
we'll
soon as
have-
we know
we'll have
something, that we're gonna have to
a-
add it to the budget. for
By
next year.
October, I can give you a rough idea. I mean,
No, that's what we're looking for.
oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not very, positive about it at the moment, but we'll see.
Okay. Any questions of Western Berks Water Authority? All right, moving on to water, we have a, pay application number 3 received for $19,177.30, for Wexcon, and as I read it, everything seems to be in good order, and where does that that stand within the budget?
That work is complete. This is the final pay application. It did go over budget because we did have a change order for
But
the additional.
over budget by the change order, right?
Yes.
You mentioned, okay. All right, so we knew about that. All right, so we need a motion to approve, deny, or recommending tabling the $19,177.30 payment to Wexcon Inc.
Will we pay it?
Second. Okay, we have a motion to second. Any question on? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, moving on to council. Suburban testing labs issue?
As we were just talking, we currently use Suburban testing labs for all our DEP sampling. They've failed us a couple times with what I consider bad practices. Looked into MJ Ryder, a competitor of theirs, but now Western Berks says hopefully in the next couple months that they used to pull our samples for us, and then that stopped and we went to Suburban, but they're coming back in the game. So I'm just gonna wait that out until Western Berks starts their sampling for us again.
We think that's beginning of the calendar year next year?
No, sometime in this fall or late fall.
Before the end of the year.
Before the end of the year.
Great,
Yeah.
great. And then the lead rule?
The lead rule, we've talked about this a few times. I did get a proposal from Entech Engineering. I spoke to Entech and Ratu. I prefer Entech. They're a little more local, have people right here. This proposal would do a few things for us. They would come in and do our inventory database. We have roughly 2,400 connections. Each of those connections needs a ton of information attached to it to abide by this rule. They would come in and set up that database and input onto that database using historical files, maps, staff, ordinances, any paperwork we have. They would communicate with the DEP and the EPA as the process goes along. This has to be completed by October of 2024, which is just the inventory. When the inventory is done, we may have 100, we may have 1,000 of unknown after we go through this whole process. And if it's unknown, it's considered lead. And then there's gonna be a phase 2 where we might have to dig up yards or identify a pipe somehow. So this is just to get the initial data input. And her proposal, or their proposal, is $12,300. I'd like to, there is a deadline, October of next year, roughly a year away. I'd like to start this process sooner rather than later, so we have time to complete it in a timely fashion.
Are you thinking you want to start it this year?
Yes. I don't know, but it's not, it's $12,000. I thought it'd be more than that. It seems reasonable to me. It's on a time and materials basis. If they hit that number, they'll stop and say, do you want to continue on? I would suspect that only a portion of that would be in the 2023 calendar year.
Put the rest of the budget for next year.
So I'd like a recommendation for Entech to do our lead sampling. It's a professional service, so we don't have to bid it.
And it's already been bid.
It doesn't have to be bid, it's a professional service.
Okay. Anybody would like to make that recommendation?
I'll make that recommendation.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second to accept Entech's engineering's proposal for the lead, basically we'll call it the lead rule. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to council.
Just gotta make sure you feed Phillips enough information as to what not get used this year, so you can budget
Sure.
for next year.
Okay, then moving on to sanitary, anything else for water, Jim? I'm sorry.
No.
Sanitary sewer, we have a payment application number 3, which was attached of $61,306.60 to Sewer Specialty Services. I read that the engineer reviewed it, seems to be all in good order. Where does that stand us with the budget on this one?
done with all his work except for 5 manholes out in your area that we want to line the collars to. We're gonna be about $30,000 under budget. I'd like to use some of that. We have a lateral 700 block of Wyomissing Boulevard that is offset and needs to be repaired. And it's 8-9 feet deep. If it were 5-6 feet deep, we could do it in-house, but it's too deep for us. And I'd like to contract with Barasso to add on to that other emergency manhole issue, to use some of that money to repair this lateral.
It's a 700 block of,
Wyomissing Boulevard.
so,
But that, the sewer budget's gonna still come in under the 400,000 that was,
even with this
even with
additional.
this, yes.
So,
Do you have to bid that, or can that be part of the emergency repair?
I was just hoping to give to Barasso as part of our emergency manhole repair. He's gonna give me pricing before we do any work.
so then would need a recommendation. I would assume that we want to make a recommendation that states to add Barasso to work on the lateral 700 block of Wyomissing Boulevard as part of the emergency work that they're doing currently, as long as it does not exceed $30,000.
Sounds fair?
Okay. I'll make that motion since I just said it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Moving that on to council.
You need to do that now, Jim, or do you wait till council? Or do you want to-
It'll wait till council.
Sorry? Why not do what?
Well, I'd rather we got
Let the
price.
council meeting, what?
Yeah, I should have a price this week, later this week.
I'd recommend we go to that.
Yeah, I forgot where's the council meeting too. Sorry. Okay. Berkshire Boulevard Pump Station, construction's ongoing.
They are working on that very,
Did they
very.
do the 61?
Yeah.
They have to do 63?
Oh, I don't know if there were 10, is it?
Did they?
All right, so we need approval of payment application 60 to Sewer Specialty Services in the amount of $61,306.60. And I'll go ahead and make that motion. And we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thanks, Jim. Berkshire Boulevard Pump Station.
They're out there working, they're waiting for the pumps, so they're working what they can, some concrete work, a little bit of pipe work.
Expectation on the date of the pumps arrival.
I don't know, I haven't heard anything, you heard anything yet? My bigger concern, it's actually not an agenda item, is our fourth and only pump station went underwater a month or two ago, remember that? And by a miracle, it's running, we tried it out and it's running, but we put in an insurance claim to replace some motors, some electronics that were in there that went underwater, and I'm gonna have to get with Melissa, it's dragging along far too long. You know, insurance.
The problem's gonna be insurance payment that's working. I don't know how much the insurance company will pay. Unless we can find it, just it created some kind of damage that's barely working.
I would think if it was submerged, then it's already gonna start, the electronics are already starting to deteriorate, but they're still operational, but that's not gonna last long.
Right.
Surprised it's still running.
Yeah.
It's a miracle, we had a small miracle.
It's underwater.
It's underwater, yeah.
All right, West Lawn
Sometimes we get
Interceptor.
lucky.
West Lawn Interceptor.
Jim's office are working on those plans.
Okay. All right. Moving on to streets, the 2023 50/50 sidewalk repairs. That was awarded to Austill Construction. There's a payment application number 1 in the amount of $52,279.47 that we need a motion to approve or table to recommend the council. I'll make the motion that we go ahead and recommend the council to pay that $52,279.47. faster, not fast enough, let me know. 2023 street improvements, $1.367 million. It looks like we received payment application number 4 in the amount of $49,156.08. And I'll go ahead, since it's been reviewed by our engineer, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we pay that $49,156.08 to Construction Master Services LLC.
Second.
And we have a motion to second. I should ask, is there any question on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Go ahead and move that on to council. And we got the bigger one, payment application number 5, in the amount of $250,523.76. Recommendation of payment was attached by McCarthy Engineering, and I'll go ahead and make the motion to pay. Second. All right, we have a motion second. Any questions on the recommendation? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That one on the council. How's that doing, buddy?
That's fine, but that's actually on the budget.
Let's not keep spending all our.
There was a lot less base repair than we had figured.
All right. Good work.
And I will say one last thing about the streets. I do have the proposed list of streets for next year, roughly the same number, 1.3, 1.4, and the next committee meeting, I'll put out there. I just like some sort of revive back to start marking the curve. I think it's gonna, I realize it's not done until the budget's approved, but I just like to get a straw poll, so I can start marking the curve.
If your number is going to be about the same, I would say my straw poll would be, I think that's okay. That's one individual person. You also have any comments on that?
I don't see why it would.
Okay, we got to keep our streets. We got to keep them. We got to keep them improving. All right, anything new on the PennDOT State Hill Road improvements?
We have a utility meeting, not next week, the week after. All involved, Western Berks, us, PA American, PennDOT engineers.
So that would be the week of
Labor Day?
August 28th.
September 3rd?
Oh, week after next, I'm sorry.
It's the week after the meeting.
Sorry. Okay.
Question on that. Can that, the flooding issue down there, can that be brought up at this meeting, or is that a separate meeting?
The flooding issue.
On State Hall Road under the.
Yeah.
PennDOT's aware of it, there are,
Yeah, but I think the more we make them more and more aware.
no, I mean, so Jim McCarthy and I made them aware of that at the original scoping meeting we had 2 years ago. After the last fire and police committee meeting, I reached out to, oh God, I can't think of his name, Don.
Lurch.
Thank you. Who is behind the engineering company putting the project together. And his immediate response was, we encapsulated your comments 2 years ago, that's being taken into consideration. There's significant right-of-way in general they're looking at taking and making additional accommodations for flooding will impact that. And also, it sounds like all stormwater on State Hall Road goes through this area. And that was one of his concerns.
Oh, yeah,
But-
it's anywhere from Walmart shopping center, maybe a third of Wyoming Hills over that side.
all goes down through there. So, I mean, they're very much taking it into consideration.
But did that area flood? I looked at some of our seasoned citizens. Did that area flood 30 years ago?
No.
Yes.
On Shade Hill Road, sure, yeah.
Under the bridge.
Flooding forever. Yeah.
So it's been flooding before Walmart and all the development
Yeah.
over there is what I was getting at.
You talk about during Agnes.
No.
Well, I would assume it flooded then. Everything flooded then.
I know it flooded, I don't ask you when, I know it.
Okay, I was just curious.
Melissa, that picture I sent you, did that get on here or not?
I have it.
I just wanted to show you a little, if you remember the storms of 2019, and we had done some stormwater improvements out in the Lincoln Randy line area, And this was one that was on our, I guess, the post-flood list, and kind of got pushed away. There was a very small inlet here. This is at Vista and Southampton, and we found that. Give Earl Miller, our one employee, credit. He found that inlet top. So we put 2 new inlets in front, put that top on, and that should really improve that low spot there. That's the only place the water can go in this depression. So I'm not hoping for heavy rain, but it should take care of it. They did a great job of that.
It's on the corner of Vista
and Southampton, and Devonshire. There's a 3-way intersection there.
down there from Dunkin' Donuts.
No, you're thinking of Cheltenham and Warwick.
You're right.
We had done something similar there a year or 2 ago. No, if you come off Vista, off of State Hill Road, just keep going. You'll see this on the left-hand side at the intersection with Southampton.
Is this one of these inlets that if it flows over, it goes around the back too? Didn't we talk
Yeah,
about
well, I call it the cat catcher, and if those grades can't take it all, the cat that is in the floodwaters will go down that throat back.
Got it.
Maybe that's how we can get it.
I was just
Maybe
gonna
we
say,
put
I
the
was
cat
just
in
gonna
the
say.
there. We can solve the problem.
I'll let that one go, that was too easy. All right. Anything else, Jim?
No.
Cambridge Avenue street work.
Can I ask a question on the other dot below there, from Borough East to Terminal Roundabouts? There was a letter sent at some point, in Fred's suggestion about the roundabout stuff.
Mhm.
And this talks about the borough making some ideas about what you want to do about the roundabouts. Have they answered the letter about, we don't want the roundabouts, so we're not?
It's just the one on State
yet?
Road.
It was only the one on State Hill Road we didn't want.
On the
No, I understand, but have we gotten any answers back from the state road?
They will take it into consideration as part of their design, but, I mean, an official, no, we will not put a roundabout there. We have not gotten a response.
So we're not responding to them about what our decorations are gonna be there because we don't want it to start.
I don't think we're there yet.
Yeah, I think we're way down the line from that.
Well, it just says borough responsible for maintenance of the islands as well as providing for the roundabouts. Sure.
Well, this is the decorations for the Greenwood Mall, Berkshire Mall entrance. So that's Woodland and State Hill.
But that's also one of the roundabouts.
Right. So we just have to,
Well, either we answer them and say we like petunias, or we say we don't want
Isn't
it.
that part of what we're gonna be meeting about next week? I mean, very.
That's more of the sewer and water utilities, more so than the road layout.
Jim McCarthy did already convey to PennDOT that we don't want anything that is high maintenance.
We also don't want a cement
we
slab
want
sticking
it,
right.
well, it's gonna be a cement slab
Yes.
sticking up,
Yeah.
but we wanna stamp it,
Correct.
so
That's
it
what we
looks like
talked
stone, so it doesn't look like a missile
Yes.
launch.
about. We agree.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
as well.
I have to see it every single day, so I would like it to be stamped, not pretty.
What I'm
All the
asking
time.
is if we don't want them and we're participating in the design feature, we get an answer.
We-
to-
We didn't say we didn't want them. We said we didn't want the one at State Hill and Penn Avenue.
So we do want that.
No, we
No,
don't
we
want
don't
that.
want that.
We want-
We want
We are
nice
tolerating,
places
we are
to-
tolerating the other ones with stamped concrete that Jen mentioned.
And they're aware of how many buses go in that up Woodland, they have to go around that roundabout, okay?
And do all these upgrades to what Jim's doing, is that already figured in with the roundabout designers? That they finish the work on that before the roundabout, or is that coordinated?
I don't understand the question.
Well, we're talking about this,
Well,
those designs up there are meant to keep flooding on State Hill Road. So if the roundabouts are gonna be on State Hill Road, who's doing what first? Cause it says right here, expected by April of 2026. So when does the roundabout stuff start or end or whatever? Are they coordinated?
PennDOT is coordinating all of it, both
Yeah,
the
but do
flooding.
you know what the coordination is as to when all this construction is gonna go on?
They don't, they haven't even put this project out to bid yet, they're not even done with
Still
design.
designing.
So their next step with us, similar to how they came in, I think it was January of 22, they came for an infrastructure meeting, give or take.
Sounds right.
End of this year, beginning of next year, they believe they will have their design finalized, that they would then come back to give an overview of the project and what it looks like. And, I mean, keep in mind, while they are proposing 5 roundabouts, depending on the amount of right-of-way and property they would have to take to implement those roundabouts, they may not all end up in the final design.
Half of us in the table are not gonna be involved with this stuff.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, all I'm trying to ask is Jim aware that when they come in at that meeting and open up their drawing board, that he's gonna already know what's on it, or are we gonna see that for the first time, and then Jim, all this work he's doing will be like poof?
His meeting
no,
is with
I
PennDOT.
assume it's gonna be like any other PennDOT project, they're gonna start doing construction, we might know about it, but that's about it.
But his meeting, Ron, is with PennDOT's
Yeah,
engineer.
It was with Wallace Montgomery, who PennDOT has contracted with to do the design work. And we're meeting to, because the sewer main in State Hill Road needs to be replaced. There's water utilities, Western Berks, us, and PA American, and some of those utilities have to be moved. Before any road work, the utility work would happen before the road work.
So when Jim comes back alive, he'll be able to give us more information about what's happening in the future.
But he's only discussing the drainage issue, we're
Right.
not talking about the design.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, Cambridge Avenue stream work. Sure. Do we want to talk about it, or just go right to the, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, we had, bids come in last week, we received 5 bids. Pretty decent spread across the 5 bids. That's a little lower than I was anticipating. This was bid with the pedestrian bridge, both of those together. That was at the suggestion of PennDOT. They thought we would save some money and it would be easier on our end and the borough's end as far as paperwork for the grant. So that's how we bid the project. Our office has done a lot of work with CMS before. They're doing the streets this year. They're a good contractor.
And as a reminder, we have $637,000 in funding from PennDOT. That funding does require a 30% match. So the really good news is all bids are actually under not only the funding amount, but, you know, the less we spend in funding, the less our required matches. So I don't know the exact number off the top of my head. Phyllis had in this year's budget for the match, but it will be less than what we thought.
Okay. Is that a reimbursement thing then?
We pay up front, they reimburse us at 30%.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve, deny, or table the apparent bid of construction master services for, what is the title of this thing? Cambridge Avenue stream work in the amount of $447,462.65. I'll make a recommendation to approve the bid.
Can I request you to amend your motion just to clarify it's for Cambridge Avenue stream work and the pedestrian bridge? Please and thank
So
you.
noted, you can insert the pedestrian bridge included in that motion. Second. We have a motion and a second. Any questions?
Sorry.
All right, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, ayes have it, move that on to council. So that included number 11 there.
Yes.
Okay. Admin and police department needs study.
I don't think there's anything to talk about there until you talk about number 13.
Okay, perfect. Moving on to 13, the Public Works Garage Project. The bidding has closed. We're going to discuss it. Or let's discuss it.
Anyone?
Not much to discuss, we got the price, now we know what it is, so now we just gotta, I guess we can, while we're here, did they give you a time frame?
I was with the understanding it could start as fall construction.
Like, start like,
Fall construction will start.
yeah, and what's the approximate completion date?
Jim and I were talking about that, likely not before the end of 24, probably early 2025. Because one of the things we were talking about is that infrastructure and council need to understand this number does not include any furnishings. So no office furniture, nothing like that, but that could be put in the budget in 24 for 25.
And in addition to that, it's a good number, but just some things I'm thinking about that aren't in the bid package. We have a lift from the county to lift the vehicles so we can inspect them. Those would have to get moved from the existing building to the new building. I have no idea how much that costs. I can't believe it's a lot of money to put up with this.
That'd be a budget number.
Security, like there's nothing in there for security cameras or alarms, you know. So I'm sure there's things, it's going to, we need to have some money for things that are unaccounted for.
Well, somehow we need to put a number to that.
Was
So
it,
we
is
don't-
there a, I remember him saying there's an industry standard for
10% contingency.
Yeah.
So,
$300,000.
and that would be a budget number for 24 or 25, depending on.
Well, unless you want to make it just part of the project. Put a 10% contingency on top of this now, then you approve it with a 10% contingency and make that.
And I would suggest doing that for grant
I would say, would
purposes.
that be repayable for the grant purposes?
Yeah, I think you're better off doing that. than doing it. Chris?
Yeah, I'm just wondering how we word that, because we're not going to award that contingency amount to any of these bids. So, there might be a separate motion after we award the contract to each of the low bidders. Have a motion to approve a contingency amount for the project of 10% of the total.
So just for budgeting and for.
It's for our purposes.
For internal purposes, so it doesn't have to be bid. It could be bid later,
Yeah.
but it's part of the project
Yeah.
total.
Right, for planning purposes, it would be part of the expected total project cost.
That way you don't have to budget for it, we can just have it part of the, you just can't go anywhere near that number, that's all. So, but the grant is in place, correct? So we should add this to the finance committee meeting to talk about like how we're going to pay for it. Just put that on the agenda for finance committee because based on what do we have? We don't have a line of credit. I keep saying it. What's it called? Short-term funding. We have a short-term funding that's still in place till April of 2025 at 2.95. And it's going to be my recommendation that everything be financed at 2.95 and pay it off. By that time, we should be reimbursed by the state.
I thought based off of Phyllis's email that short-term funding was only good through 24.
25.
Okay.
She sent me an email, said April of 2025, had approved for $7 million.
7.5.
Yeah, and it's 2.95%. That's what she said.
Through April of 25.
That's what, yeah.
But in that
7
case,
million.
yes, I mean, I have a call set up next week with our grant writer as to reimbursement on this and how big it is. I mean, that would be one of the things I'd want to confirm first.
Well, if we're not gonna complete the project till the end of 25, I'm guessing that it's gonna be time phased. Can we request reimbursement during the time phase payments or?
End of 24, and typically, yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
As you are paying invoices and receiving canceled checks back from your bank to show for payment, you can submit, and it's not one fell swoop.
So I mean, if we do this right, we can leverage the short-term funding program through almost the entire project and still keep our money in Pliget and net 2% on the money, which could be $60,000 or $70,000. So I'm not sure why we would want it.
I don't know why we do it.
So now to be clear, we are sitting on $3 million in funding from the state for their RFP program. That requires a 50% match. So let's say 1.6, 1.7 is what we will be taking out of what we currently have available.
Correct. At the end of the project, that's the net of it all.
Yes.
So we can add to the finance committee meeting discussion about the police administration building and the appetite of where we feel comfortable ending our reserve, non-reserve balance with the accounts.
Just so you're aware, I will not get that because I will be on vacation.
Okay. Well, I don't think we're gonna buy a building.
I don't either,
So-
but just advanced warning.
I'm pretty sure we're not going to. I think it's gonna be the preliminary discussion, and I think that's the committee has to make, I think the council in whole has to make a determination. What's the appetite for how low do we feel comfortable allowing our non-reserve cash flow to be? That's the number, that's the number we have.
So, moving forward, we're gonna vote on this. Do we do it all in separate pieces?
Well, what I would like to see would be a motion from the committee on each of these contracts, and then we can shift to council, and the council votes on each of these same matters. So I would recommend going through all of them
All
at
five
the
of them?
committee level, and then go through all of them at the council level.
Steve, just one question, Bolton Construction, I don't know that, I mean, I'm assuming somebody knows them and says they're a good company and we've checked their references and we know that they're,
Yeah, Jim's office.
Where are they located?
I would say in between here and Allentown.
Oh,
They're not too far.
work out of trailers, look out.
Which contract are you talking about?
Bolton.
Paul? Paul,
Yeah,
that one I don't know.
You don't know them yet?
I
I know
Right,
H1.
Right, you don't know?
I know Jim said he's familiar with them.
Yeah, he is. He moved with them.
So Jim said that.
Any other questions prior to moving this on?
One other question I have, there was, on the agenda, there's two listed for HVAC, is that a typo?
The last one should be electrical.
Okay. So garbage spot is electrical.
Yes.
Okay. So moving on, regarding the Public Works garage project, Jim, we're starting to slowly get there, huh?
And that's not, that's amazing.
So I'm confused, is this infrastructure now or is this council?
Infrastructure is moving it on the council.
But we're gonna, then council's
Yes.
gonna vote on today too.
Yes.
I would recommend there be a set of votes by the committee on each of these, and then we could shift to council, and council could vote on awarding all the same motions.
Good.
Bolton Construction's in Richland.
Thanks. Good Google.
Richland's in Quakertown, I think, or outside of Quakertown.
Richards and Lebanon,
Lebanon.
Richland's.
Myerstown.
Different, maybe it's different.
I think there is a Richland down in Philly, is there? Yeah. Okay, as far as the Public Works Garage project, we have a low bidder for the general contractor is Bolton Construction for the base bid of $2.246 million and an extended bid of $2,284,152.40. I'll make the recommendation that we move forward with general contractor Bolton at the extended bid.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Pass that on to council. Couple minutes. As far as the Public Works Garage for the fire protection contractor, the low bidder is Accelerated Fire Protection, Inc. in the amount of $68,370. And I'll go ahead and make the recommendation that we move forward with that at that number.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. For the plumbing contractor will be A.H. Moyer, Inc. for a contract price of $238,817 even. I'll go ahead and make the recommendation that we utilize A.H. Moyer's services.
Second.
Motion to second. Any questions on that? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the HVAC contractor will also be A.H. Moyer, and the contract price of $162,275 even. And I'll go ahead and make that recommendation to approve A.H. Moyer for that piece.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on the, okay, hearing none? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, move that on to council. And then, although it says HVAC contractor, it is amended to the low bidder for the electrical contractor is Garden Spot Electric Inc. in the contract price of $362,500 even. And I'll make that recommendation to award that to Garden Spot Electric Inc.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on that? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Chairman, at this point, would the committee want to consider an additional motion to set aside for planning purposes $300,000 for contingencies on this project?
Everyone make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to set aside $300,000, which represents approximately 10% of the contract bid, total contract bid, for contingencies. We have a motion and a second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. We can move that on to council also. Did I get them all?
Yeah. I don't see anything else that we need to address at the committee level. Do you wish at this point to have council take action? We could resume council portion.
Yeah, I think we should move on to the council portion.
Okay, we'll move back into the council portion. We have some recommendations from the infrastructure committee. The first one being for the public works garage, low bid, general contractor is Austill Construction at a base bid of $2.246 million, and the extended bid of $2.28415 $2.4240. And I'll entertain that motion.
And this is for the extended bid.
I will make the motion for the extended bid.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Brunner?
Yes.
Councilmember Jarrett?
Yes.
Councilmember Vogel?
Yes.
Councilmember Barnett?
Yes.
Councilmember Stanko?
Yes.
Councilmember Reeser?
Yes.
Council President James?
Yes. Okay, for the low bid for the fire protection contractor was Accelerated Fire Protection, Inc., for contract price of $68,370. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Brunner?
Yes.
Councilmember Jarrett?
Yes.
Councilmember Vogel?
Yes.
Councilmember Barnett?
Yes.
Councilmember Stanko?
Yes.
Councilmember Reeser?
Yes.
Council President James?
Yes. Okay, the low bid for the plumbing contractor was A.H. Moyer for a contract price of $238,817. Entertain motion for that.
So moved. Second.
Motion second, roll call.
Councilmember Brunner?
Yes.
Councilmember Jarrett?
Yes.
Councilmember Vogel?
Yes.
Councilmember Barnett? Councilmember Stanko?
Yes.
Councilmember Reeser?
Yes.
Council President James?
Yes. The low bidder for the HVAC contractor was A.H. Moyer for a contract price of $162,275, and I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, roll call, please.
Councilmember Brunner?
Yes.
Councilmember Jarrett?
Yes.
Councilmember Vogel?
Yes.
Councilmember Barnett?
Yes.
Councilmember Stanko?
Yes.
Councilmember Reeser?
Yes.
Council President James?
Yes. Okay, the low bidder for the electrical contractor is Garden Spot Electric, Inc., for a contract price of $362,500, and I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, roll call.
Councilmember Brunner?
Yes.
Councilmember Jarrett?
Yes.
Councilmember Vogel?
Yes.
Councilmember Barnett?
Yes.
Councilmember Stanko?
Yes.
Councilmember Reeser?
Yes.
Council President James?
Yes. And finally, would somebody wish to make a motion for the $300,000 contingency on the project?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, roll call, please.
Councilmember Brennan?
Yes.
Councilmember Dirk?
Yes.
Councilmember Vogel?
Yes.
Councilmember Barnett?
Yes.
Councilmember Stanko?
Yes.
Councilmember Reeser?
Yes.
And Council President James.
Yes. And that is all on that subject. We'll move back into infrastructure committee.
There were other motions of infrastructure that they previously moved things on to council. Can we dispose of them
How do
today
we
as well?
advertise this? Seriously?
And other
Mm.
So they don't need to discuss them at the.
Huh?
All the ones that we
Yeah.
approved. We need to
Water,
advertise.
sewer.
Oh, I don't, we don't need
Yeah,
to
I
approve
guess
these
it's
again at
just-
council
it's-
meeting.
Yeah, paying
No,
for
not
the
those,
extra.
all the other stuff that we already did.
Oh,
Yeah,
Sure.
all the
Yeah, they're gonna
applications,
go back.
Well,
Yeah.
Water, streets.
Water, sewer.
Yeah.
I would prefer that the other business stay on the regular council
Yeah, I agree.
agenda. This was, I think,
I think so.
intended as a special meeting for the public works project.
Nick, is there any urgency to the Cambridge Boulevard and that bridge?
No, because we're limited on construction anyway, so technically.
I think the advertisement did say any other business.
Yeah, I mean, Melissa has satisfied me that council could act on those items. I mean, if you wanted to, you could take those actions today. I just am recommending that you keep it on your regular agenda, but you have the option to do it now if you wish.
I'd like to follow the solicitor's recommendation.
Which was to wait till council meeting.
Wait till council as well.
Unless there's some of them that
Yeah,
need
sure.
of an urgency.
Correct. I mean, I haven't heard that there is anything urgent about the other business.
And we have to get a price on that other one, that add-on anyway.
Right.
Okay, oops, sorry, not my meeting.
No, back to your meeting.
It is.
Back to my meeting, all right. Well, congratulations.
Thanks,
Greg.
I appreciate it.
Long time, very long
Been on
time.
council for 7.5 years, you've been pushing for that for 7.5 years.
Long time, yeah.
Congratulations. All right, Fast Bridge Fiber Agreement, back to the Infrastructure Committee meeting. Anything new on that?
I'll chime in, Chris has more technical.
Well, did you see the revised agreement?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. When Fast Bridge was doing the Wyomissing Hills area installation, it became a quagmire of permits, every street crossing, every street cut. It became a full-time job processing their permits. So we proposed, they give us some money in escrow or letter of credit now apparently for one blanket permit for what I'm calling phase 2 over on the older part of lines. There's been a couple renditions, but we have a final draft now that Fast Bridge is happy with, Chris and I are happy with, and we'll execute it.
Are they finished or are they done?
No, I had an appointment to have it installed, and they had to reschedule because they did get the permit for Marymount Road. So they said they'd call me back in 30 days to reschedule.
There's still, I don't understand, and I try to get an answer to this, at different spots, there's still their cable coiled up.
That's because they're waiting to
An
install that,
intersection.
yeah.
And I'm like, I thought you guys were done, so I'm unclear on that, but, they did hire Slab to do all their street restoration, they're working on that now.
Yeah, like Woodland is finished, it's cleaned down there, and a lot of people on Woodland have that, which are happy with it.
Oh, they can install it.
It's already installed, people have it in their homes, they're really happy with it, so I'm excited to leave.
And now it'd be too.
Yeah.
We're now installing on North
Well, we're
Virginia
waiting
Road.
another.
Is that what they're doing?
Yeah, it's now, Craig Kimball said something.
I saw they had the street.
So are they still waiting for permits street by street for the hills?
I just talked to him this morning, he sent me a handful, I guess last week, that I told him I'd try to process today. Handful, I don't know where they're at. I'll just look at it, it doesn't take that long, so we look at it, see where it's supposed to be. Yeah,
Just
Yeah.
chime in with what Jim has already said, this agreement would supplement the terms of our normal permitting for a project like this with enhanced security for the borough with regard to street restoration and terms about what specification they must meet for street restoration. So I recommend approval of this agreement to protect the borough.
Okay, so, need a recommendation to approve the Fast Bridge Fiber Agreement for Stage 2 to avoid all these different awarding of various things that we need to get done. So we have a motion, we have a second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the Fast Bridge Fiber Agreement. All those in favor? Aye.
Can I ask a question? In case I get any questions from people about Fast Bridge, is there coming to a theater meeting, I will sort of know whether it will be next.
As part of that agreement, before they come in to do work, they need to do a mailer.
Oh, yeah.
People say, hey, we're gonna come through,
They do that in the hills, we
Yes.
have lots of mailers, yeah.
so you will get some sort of notice before their construction starts.
And they do like
Although-
coffees too, they're like, hey, meet us at this location for coffee, if you have questions, type of thing.
Although if they're doing West Virginia, we didn't get a notice.
Is that,
If they're doing our street,
I'm not
we
aware
didn't
that they
get a
started on
notice.
road.
Yeah,
Somebody may have heard a rumor that.
No, Dr. Kimmel said they're in his
They've
backyard.
got the road closed today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the road's closed. West
Yeah.
Virginia's closed at Meadow
Their,
Market.
their equipment's right up to the Reading line, and then boom, it stops.
The other thing for, I feel like you're gonna get more calls as council members now based off phase 2. Our phones blew up during phase 1 in Wyomissing Hills. We, the borough, have no regulatory oversight over them. Other than we gave out the PUC's phone number, we will again have the information on the website. It was dedicated on the homepage at that time because that's how bad it got. But there is, if you go to the PUC's website, there's a phone number and a place you can go directly on their website to submit an online complaint. That's all we can do.
so is
They've
it,
got to
like,
restore it. I mean, we're responsible for the oversight.
So they
of
want
restoration.
For streets, so there was a lot of damage to people's private property that it was very hard to explain to someone. Like, under the PUC, they are not required to get any permit, so to speak, from the borough to do this work in the public right of way outside of this agreement and a street cut permit. But that is strictly for restoration of the street. Any damage they do to your private property is between you and them. And that did not go over well.
Meaning grass.
Yeah,
People
the
don't
grass,
like to
they
tear
do
up the
great,
grass.
I mean, they'll come through a street, it looks like hell, and 3 hours later, you even live in it.
I think the
That's
issue was like
not
Mark
the calls
House
we were
Road.
getting.
Right,
Yeah.
there was also, they started before any, like, we didn't really know what was happening. And so it was like all the,
Well, we got a lot of calls too about like their subs didn't speak English, their subs were doing damage, leaving trash. There were at least 3 accidents at different points in time where like a sub hit a vehicle and just kept going. So I'm hoping they've learned their lesson from phase 1 and do better. But just as council members, I'm warning you, you may get phone calls.
are they gonna be tearing up Ryderson Boulevard, Garfield, and Cleveland?
I don't know that kind of detail.
Probably would be my guess eventually.
Well, that should concern us a bit, since we just spent $3 million redoing Garfield, that work, looks like it was done last year.
We do in the street cut permit, we do have a clause that the road was paved in the last 5 years. A typical permit's $50, which is $500 penalty to cut a street.
$500.
Yeah, it's
We
not a
spent
ton.
$2 million, but
We didn't spend too
Well,
much.
and keep in mind, they're attempting to go under.
you know,
They're boring
go
under.
You have to, like,
That's in the right of way though, that's in the right of way. They're actually,
it's in the grass, right?
yeah.
It's in the.
It's all grass.
Planning.
it's on the sidewalk.
Yeah, it's been.
The
Yeah,
planning
it's
strip.
not doing trench down the
Yes,
road.
so they bore in the planning strip and then shoot the line under the road and come out the other side.
So are the Comcast guys
Well,
running
yeah,
behind
there's
it, or
a
slippers,
big
instead of Comcast service? How's that?
Probably.
The individuals would have to deter at it.
So just
Well,
call
Comcast has done it.
Comcast service.
Well, didn't they say that they were gonna, where the wires are above ground, all their wires will be above ground?
Yes.
They said, if your cable comes into you, off a pole, that's where they're gonna go on the pole, they won't go to not where you
In
do
some
it, not
places,
where I
yes.
do it.
Not where you are.
In some places, yes.
All right, so what down where Jackson and Winter are,
Yeah, everything's underground, you come, so that'll continue to be underground.
Where you
If
live
there,
on
if your
that.
area though, speaking to you, as I understand it, if there's aerial poles in the area, they're gonna try to use aerial as opposed to underground. If the, over Wyomissing Hills, there's, most of that stuff is underground, so they did it that way, but in the older part of Wyomissing Borough, they'll probably be on poles out west of Clayton,
To make it
probably
go faster.
underground.
Jim, is there any urgency with the approval of this agreement? Should council-
I was just making a note, I'm gonna call him and tell him that it'll be approved at the,
Well, once we can just do it now.
We can just do it now,
Next
yeah,
month.
because we don't wanna hold anything up, I mean, they've already started the work, so.
It'd be nice if they did notify the residents now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's in the agreement. That is in the
Then
agreement.
we gotta approve the agreement so they can notify the residents.
Yeah, if you guys do that
approve
now, I
it.
actually have a copy, Bill can sign it.
Yeah,
right now.
We approved the, so we're moving on to council.
Okay, gonna re-adjourn council,
Did the committee recommend?
What was that, or
yeah, they did
the
already.
notice? Why this possible else?
Okay. What?
Because
this is
because they already started the
emergency.
work. They've already started the
What's
work.
the difference?
I don't understand why they're not moving the work.
Okay, we have, recommendation, from the, Infrastructure Committee to approve the Fast Bridge Fiber, agreement, and I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
second.
Motion and second to approve, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, so approved. Okay, now we'll go back to Infrastructure Committee.
We're headed to the duck pond.
Yeah.
All right, you wanna give us some background? Who wants to give us the background of the duck pond?
Greg is.
I'll give you the background on the duck pond. It was reported that duck pond looked terrible, smelled terrible. I have to agree, the duck pond did not look great. So we went down, cleaned it all up, cleaned the bank up, put grass on there. The smell is not from the duck pond,
The sewer line.
it's from the sewer lines.
Oh, good. The sewer line.
There's 5
Right
sewer
down
lines
there.
that go through
This
there.
happened before.
Yeah, it's mainly in the morning. If you go down there in the morning, then you really get a good whiff of it.
Nice.
Called two companies, Aqualink and Sea Ponds. Both came out. Sea Ponds wanted to sell us a big waterfall and all kinds of fancy stuff. It would look really nice, but it's like $125,000, which is I think a lot of what we're
That's
looking
nice.
for. Aqualink came in, saw our problem, they gave us good pricing for a solution. We have a pump in there now, which sucks in. Well, if we put aeration in, it's pushing air, so it's not gonna, get clogged up.
Get clogged up.
It'll shut down all the time. Now, it's not gonna give you a big fancy waterfall coming out, but with the aeration and a little bit of treatment, it'll keep the pond clear and it won't kill all the animals and stuff.
Who was the other company?
Sea Ponds.
The one, but we never got back, they never got back to us.
Oh, no, that was, what was that?
The one that's kind of MIA.
Solitude
Okay.
Lake.
Yeah.
So they're not involved
We
with this?
canceled, yeah, no,
Okay.
we canceled that. For the aeration, I believe it was 4,000 to have it solved.
45 or 150.
Yeah, and then to have it treated, the whole thing, yeah, the pump is not that big, it'll kill it.
So you're not looking for any action right now?
No, after thinking about it, I'm looking at the season we're in.
So we can't do any couldn't do any aeration.
We could, but the park budget's so small, it would kind of.
Either that or are you willing to spend unbudgeted money,
Yeah, I think we should.
I think this is an item that we should try to take care of, so let's do as an individual, as the committee head, I think we should go ahead and find some $4,500 of unbudgeted items to do the aeration, and we'll start the treatment next year.
As long as it's
And it won't
not
come out of your
wasted,
budget.
I mean, it's not, the pump's still gonna be good in the spring.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
long-term solution
Yeah, the
that we're
aeration
doing.
is a long-term solution.
Right, okay.
Why do we need the treatments? Like last month you said the water was perfectly fine.
Well, when they went to test it for mosquitoes and all that, it's ideal for the animals that are in there. There's nothing wrong with it, but it looks terrible.
Okay.
And they can break down a lot of that algae and stuff with,
Without damaging the ecosystem.
Without it.
Right.
Yeah.
The ecosystem, okay.
Poor fishing must be ready.
The habitat.
Are we considering anything about the surrounding area of the pond, which is tons
Not
of
right now,
grass?
if they want to look at into the parks budget, we can,
What's
if
that?
they want to add that to the parks
Couple-
budget and somewhere down the road.
Tables, benches. or
What they did looks great. I mean,
Yeah.
that cleaned that whole thing up. I mean,
Just buy it then.
it looks good.
Okay,
They cleaned that up.
so I'll just ask a question. So, I'll make the recommendation that we take, we move forward with the aeration of the pond in 2023 for the amount of $4,501.50, and then we'll start the treatments in 2025, and we'll use it for some, it's an unbudgeted item.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion to second. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Do we want to move the council to vote on it too?
Are we, is finance okay with not reviewing this?
Yeah.
What's your number that you're allowed to approve? 5,000?
5,000.
No, I thought it was higher than that.
Okay, well, it's at least 4,500.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, then just let borough manager approve it. But finance is sort of saying, yeah.
We'll take it out of your review.
We'll have that
So
one.
now we're back to council to vote.
Like them.
So
Well, we have to
these
vote on it.
treatments
We
like
have to-
long term, we gotta do them
She can just do
3
it.
times a year, every year?
Yeah, she can sign the
Definitely.
contract.
Okay.
For
I'll
how
have to
much?
motion.
That's a big
Apologies.
It's $4,850 a year, which is what you
For
can,
just the treatment?
which is what you can spend in with solitude.
Oh, okay. But then what are we paying for the
There is
aeration?
4,500.
It's 4,500, and then the
One
treatments are
time.
an additional 4,800?
Yes.
And
Okay,
we'll put-
got it.
that'll be in the
We'll put those
budget.
in the
And that's
budget.
next year, got it, okay.
And there already
It'll be
is
budgeted item for next year.
money in the budget, we're just not spending it because Solitude wasn't doing their
And the
job.
treatment is for the Stonehouse pond too. So it's both.
Oh, it's for both?
Yeah.
Oh, even better.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
is that per year?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
Even better. All right, so that's been moved on to, it's been approved, Michelle can pay it. All right, any other questions on the duck pond? Thanks, Greg. Old business.
I have one thing under old business. We discussed the Hewitt House lease at last month's meeting. Bel Airs did give me an appraisal that doesn't actually give an amount they suggest for rent.
Yeah, couldn't find one.
It's for 2,100.
It gives,
2100.
well,
It gave comparisons and did not
Comparisons.
anywhere actually say the fair market value to charge for rent for this property is X.
Yeah.
I
they
did.
said it was between 2 and 22, I thought, somewhere. The fair
They-
market value was between
they said-
2,000 and 2,200.
Like, relatively similar properties rent for 2,000 to 2,200. But I was expecting similar to an actual appraisal, a flat, you should charge X. And I responded to Kim Bellairs, who sent it to me and said, am I missing something that nowhere in here it gives a specific amount we should be charging for rent? And she still has not gotten back to me. So,
What are we currently charging?
1,600.
Oh,
I was gonna suggest 2,000.
It is
So I-
what it is. We've been renting those buildings down there forever, and so, they just,
No, we actually haven't.
the
only
guy that
maybe a
lived there
decade.
for 25 years just lived there. And I don't know how anybody got to just live there, but whatever you did before to rent these places, how much, what was it being rented to, how much was it being rented?
She started at 1,400, Emily Hannon, and it was raised to 1,600, I think, last year.
So what it really is somebody needs to just take care of it, because if you put it on the open market, you could probably rent it for $5,000, because people would like to live there in that solitude with a 2-car garage.
With people walking in front of your house 24/7.
And the steps going up to the second floor.
It's not,
Bare.
it's not newly renovated, it's teens.
Yeah, that second
Looks
looks
good.
second floor is
It's nasty.
Well, from the outside, yeah, but if you look at some of those interior
Kitchen
pictures,
is
Just a
Dated.
finance thing.
There.
Yeah.
yeah.
Second floor is,
Yeah,
yeah,
Whatever.
I guess
you wouldn't pay 5,000.
I'm going on finance. I don't know.
I don't necessarily know that you need to, because infrastructure and council already approved the recommendation to set the rent amount based off of what was in the appraisal. I'm just giving you an FYI, there was no specific amount given, so I was gonna go with 2,000.
Use the lower end of the number.
So, but 2,000 is a 25% increase, which is a huge increase, and then Emma's probably gonna ask for some updates.
Uh-huh.
So does it make sense to jump to 1,800 and then tell her for this year, tell her the following year will be 2,000, that would have a year to process that huge jump. They can either move out or accept the 2,000 following year. They're fine with that. Like a $400 a month jump is big.
But then we're not doing it.
So on the one hand,
That's
It is, well, yeah, it's, and I know I know there's not an issue there, but that's, should be part of the factor.
Then you're gonna have, I agree, you need to make a new motion, because that's not what the committee recommended. And
So
council
we need to make it, or
approved.
does finance and admin do it?
Okay.
It doesn't matter to me,
This-
but sooner than later, I'd rather do it here, because of the way the lease language is.
Who said to do it at the appraised value? Is it finance or
I
infrastructure?
think it's infrastructure.
Yeah, I thought it was
It
infrastructure.
wasn't. All right, so then we need a motion to set the rent amount for the Hewitt House at, it was going to be agreed upon $1,800, which is different than the recommendation that we had prior, with the note that we will be adjusting it to market, the fair market value of rentals in the area in 2025. Motion and second, questions on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
I know what it
Yeah,
costs.
let's just
That's-
ratify it.
Well, my thinking is, this is basically an offer, and she has to accept it.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
we'll go back and work with
Okay.
council.
The lease month to month.
Sorry, yes, well, it,
Ten.
every September 30th it expires.
Annual goes a month.
well, I thought we had to change the next 60 days in advance, or we're stuck with it while here. That's how we got closed last year.
No, we never even approached her last year.
No, we
I'm
couldn't-
well
we
aware
couldn't-
we're outside
we
of the 60
couldn't-
days.
We couldn't because we're within that window.
So Chris and I had this conversation, and I'm willing to take a chance of her saying, saying to her, your rent's going up $1,800 effective October 1st. Let her push back on us and say, no, my lease says you have to give me 60 days notice.
I thought last year you said that we could raise it, we had to give her 60 days notice before the end of the annual term. And if we did not, it would renew for the amount, and it seems to me we've screwed up again, and it's too late to change it till next year, if my recollection is correct.
Your recollection is correct, however, as Michelle and I discussed, we're recommending to make the proposal to her for the higher rent for the upcoming year and see what she says.
And part of that was, I didn't expect it was gonna take Belair so long to get the appraisal back to us.
But we already know what we're doing, right?
I do have a question, should that property be on the tax rolls?
That's not my fault, Nick.
I'm raising the question, because now it's not, Borough owns it, however, we're using it, rental property. That's
I
the
think
question.
you have to accept some of it out and that it's part of a 28-acre parcel. So it's part of a 28-acre parcel that is deeded to part of the parklands. So to put all of it back on the tax rolls, I think we're shooting ourselves in the foot.
Rent out the stone house, you don't charge tax, it's not taxable item. Rent out, rent out the
But that's
buildings.
used by the borough in general.
But
This
it's
is a
private.
private residence.
Well, the stone house is being rented out by private individuals.
Yeah, that's, I don't think that's analogous. I just raised the question.
It's an interesting question.
What's it cost us here to maintain the house, cutting and updates? Does she pay electrical?
She pays all your utilities.
All utilities.
We supply the
has water and sewer, she pays for everything else.
I didn't realize we paid water and sewer.
Yeah. Yeah, she pays, what, I think it was oil heating, she pays for electric. They always do ask for improvements, or they just kind of drag my feet. I know they want insulation between the second, third floors. The bathrooms upstairs need updating, along with some plumbing to get the water from the basement up to the bathrooms. So it does need work.
So we're paying water and sewer, what else? So we're
I
mowing
think
it?
that's it, you know it.
No, I mean, we would be mowing it anyways, it's part of the parkland.
Okay. Moving on, Senator, the $1,800 vote, see what happens. Any other old business? Anybody have any new business to bring before the committee? Hearing none. Public comment?
Now, you said you wanted to talk about,
I didn't say I want to talk about anything, I just said.
you said I'm
I'll
gonna give
give
you
you guys some
the,
talk. You can, we'll give you some time to talk about that situation, about your driveway.
sure. I'm always willing to do that. So, but that's not
You
part
are
of my
kind-
public comment, right?
Correct.
Okay. So, first of all, it's difficult for me, and I will say what I have to say, but I have to object to this because I'm here in front of, 7 of you and a lawyer, and usually the way it works, everybody shoots questions across, and I'm a single guy. I don't have a lawyer with me. But the problem here is, it is a long story, and the truth needs to be brought out. And if we had the opportunity to discuss back in November, September last year, when you didn't want to hear anything else, we could have avoided this. Okay, we are $50,000 in lawyer fees to try to convince you how the borough code looks like, and of the facts that happened with that driveway.
I'm not asking you to comment on the protocol, I'm just asking you to recant the question.
That's
about
exactly
6
what
months.
it is. What I'm saying is, we need to have respect for the truth, and for that, you want to listen to it. Not now after 50,000. Back then, before the 50,000.
I was just
So,
following code.
in any case, the truth is this: that driveway was built in 2013 when we put the application. It's not built. It's not another extension. It was built. The first permit was made just as a courtesy to the zoning codes, because they said, well, there was some misunderstanding with the initial permit and that particular driveway, but we built it as per our zoning hearing approval, and it was built. The second truth is, at the moment of that permit, we were under a lawsuit that involved the driveway. We all knew, I knew, Michelle knew, that wasn't gonna be done because I have a 6-month period for the permit. The lawsuit included that thing we were not supposed to touch. Fast forward.
What I was asking you to give you the
Yes.
answer on is, when Mr. Jennings said, Mr. Jenks said you had 6 months and he would like you to take it seriously.
Yes.
If you wanted to say something, what were you gonna say to that?
This is
particular-
exactly what I'm saying. So, right now, we did agree to put a new permit, actually put a permit. The permit, however, the problem that was back in September was that we were required to put a hardtop, asphalt or pavers, you name it, or concrete. And we said, no, we can build a driveway that is stone driveway. And we did offer, there is plenty documentation, we offered, okay, we're gonna resurface this driveway however you want. But the NOV was nevertheless issued, and we had to defend ourselves. So the problem is, let's sit down. Right now, the permit is not for a hard top, it's for what we said back in September, October, November, what it was, to put a new coat of stones and compact them. That's it. And
Thank you, you've been heard on that note, on that piece. We understand now. Got it.
good. So we have that time to do this, and there is more. I told them back then, I tell them right now, I have an active permit. No property in Wyomissing is required to pave the driveway while the construction is going on. I have a priority for the back. I showed them, I brought Mr. Neither and what's his name?
Listen, I'm not here to debate the 6 months. I was just giving you the
No,
opportunity to
no,
respond.
you have to listen to the problem. The problem is, you said you gotta give me time. My priority is to finish the back because I have heavy-duty equipment coming from there. Makes no sense to beautify that driveway before I finish the back. I hope you agree with that.
You done? We're good?
Can I go into my public comments?
Yes, now you go to now you have 5 minutes.
So, we still have a problem, and it's difficult for us to express that. And I have to apologize. I made a statement that our code requires 6 feet on dog leashes, and I was wrong. It doesn't. However, the state law requires for animals to be within the control of the owner. And this particular situation, and I provided the borough the pictures with Mr. Cullen, okay, you laughed when I said 20-foot leashes. Goes through the middle of the road with extensible leashes, which if you go and Google them, they're in between 16 feet and 24 feet. You can buy them extensible. It just goes from here to Michelle.
Yes.
Okay, so one dog in one gutter, the other dog in another gutter. Michelle has the pictures of that. I don't think that is a safe situation. When you drive towards him, he does not pull his dogs. He lets his dogs come onto our driveway. I have a video security camera. I start the car, you can hear starting though. You see the garage is open, you see the car backing up. He leaves the dogs right into the direction, straight in the direction of my car. I have to stop. He's away, 20 feet away, the dogs are right there at the curb. So we have to deal with this situation every day. I don't think that the state law is this what it was intended, because 20 feet away, your dogs, they're not under your control. They can go anywhere within that 20-foot radius. And for us, it's a problem. And he does that constantly. And just like in the situation with a lady with a cat, I see that you take action based on on the testimony of 2 women. I have not seen you bring the lady in question, hear her part. I'm not taking her defense. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying listen to both sides. And we have a problem. We brought you pictures. He's taking the dogs, instead of the dogs defecating on his property, he wakes up in the morning, takes them on our property. That's not walking the dog. That's taking the dog to defecate on the neighbor's property. And we have plenty of information on that. Not only that, I brought the police at the time when he's rubbing the feces into the ground in front of Greg's property. And we continue to have these issues. And nothing is done. I think that the leash part is a problem. It's a safety issue. Okay, so I'm asking you to consider that. That's not what the state law intended, And there are plenty of municipalities who specify 6
Your
feet.
5 minutes are up.
Thank you.
All right, any other public comment? Hearing none, I'll make a recommendation, we,
Still need to tour the,
Yeah.
oh, are we doing that under the committee or outside of the committee?
Is there any action being taken?
I don't see any.
All right, as long as there's no discussion and no action, it's just for you to receive information by walking through the building. You can adjourn the meeting and then do the tour.
So one discussion, we can't ask.
Meeting to adjourn.
No topic.
You can
You can
ask
ask questions.
questions to receive information, but there can't be discussion among the committee members or the council members.
Meaning we agree to fix this or we agree to move that.
I would prefer, because of the security in nature of this building and some of the equipment that's in it, I would really prefer, if it's possible, that this not be recorded for the public to see.
Is the
I'm not
public allowed?
smiling, I'm not smiling, I'm serious.
I'm smiling. I'm a nice guy. I smile. You're always serious.
Okay,
Yeah, we're adjourned.
we're adjourned.
Well, you got,
Meeting is
I
adjourned.
need to use the restroom first.
And
If
council
people
is
like
also-
individuals go to the restroom, they're right outside that door. Excuse me.
Wait,